Okay, so let's move on and talk about the games um, for the week. And when I'm doing this recording, one game has already happened. This was the Kansas City Chief against the Detroit Lions. I almost forgot the name. The game ended 21-20 to Detroit Lions. And I think my observation from that game is basically no Travis Kelsey, no offense. I think it can pretty much be summed up as that. Um, and there's some things that I want to draw out, from that particular game. I think Patrick Mahomes still looked like Patrick Mahomes. He was still coming out of the pocket. He was dodging. He was running. I think he had the most rushes for the Kansas City Chiefs. Might not make such a difference, right now, but I think in the backstretch, of the games, when we start getting into November, December, they really need to have someone to establish a running game there. So I think it's early season. Most people take the first 2, 3 games as still part of the preseason. Certainly, Belichick always used to say, when Tom Brady was in the Patriots, that doesn't really start to look at the season until maybe after game 3 or 4 or something like that. And so people that were predicting that the Kansas City Chiefs were going to go 20-0, well, you can put that prediction to bed because they need to at least get from 1-0 first of all. I mean, I'm joking. Listen, Kansas City Chiefs will be okay. As for the Detroit Lions, I mean, this is I think the stats suggest that they've won, 9 of 11 games going back to last season. So I mean that's pretty good, and I think everyone will remember when these two quarterbacks met when um, Jared Goff, was still the quarterback for the LA Rams, and that insanely crazy game that went up into the 40s in terms of points. I mean, it was a straight out shootout. Really enjoyable game. This one was a little bit more calm, more measured. I think for the Lions, it's good for them to get their season up and running. I'm not quite sure how relevant they'll be this season, but I think, we can give them a chance, to see how well they're going to play. I think it's important for, Kansas City to get, Travis Kelsey back. I think that's a really important part of their game. He is a reliable blanket for Patrick Mahomes. And I'm just gonna say this, right? He's thrown, one interception, in the game, and I remember when people were criticizing Dak Prescott, and okay, I'm gonna talk about, let my Cowboys show a little bit here. But I remember when people talking about Dak Prescott, and they were just saying that, he's supposed to elevate the team, he's supposed to make sure that the team is winning and all of that. I know it's one game, but is there a coincidence that without Travis Kelsey, Mahomes doesn't look the Mahomes that everyone looks like? And I think, you can kind of make the parallel, to Dak Prescott. Before Amari Cooper came into the team, Dak Prescott was throwing to, almost was no one, right? Amari Cooper came to the team, and Dak Prescott's trajectory as a quarterback simply just shot up, right up there. I remember when Amari Cooper announced himself as a Dallas Cowboys fan. I think it was a game against the Washington, Commanders, called, Redskins there. And listen, he caught that ball and then he was straight to the house. I think he had over 100 yards in that game. And I was like, wow, this is the kind of receiver that we needed. And the next season, Dak Prescott went on to throw over 4,000 yards. Not a coincidence that the season that Amari Cooper gets traded, to the Browns. I mean, CD Lamb is a good player. I think he's going to come good. He's the number one right now. And we've got Brandon Cooks, who's the other receiver. But I think that you could see that, Dak Prescott, he was throwing to Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz was Dak Prescott's security blanket. And he threw a lot of interceptions, right? I think 15 interceptions last season, which is really unheard of, especially in his rookie season, I think he threw only 4 interceptions back then. But I think it's important that every team needs help for their quarterbacks. I don't care whatever the quarterback is. I mean, we look at Aaron Rodgers and we look at the chemistry between him and Devante Adams, right? And that there's always a quarterback pairing that helps you get over the hump. I mean, you can maybe survive for a game or so, but over the course of the season, a quarterback needs to know that I can throw the ball into an area and I know that my receivers are going to go up there and grab it. And to an extent, receivers, help quarterbacks, to become legendary. I mean, look at, Joe Burrow. He's got Jamar Chase there. He's got T. Higgins in the Bengals squad. So these are players that are actually helping to elevate the quarterback. So I know I'm digressing a little bit, but I just wanted to just point out that people should have the same energy, for Dak Prescott. I know people are going to say he hasn't won the same thing as Patrick Mahomes, but that's not what I'm talking about. Just talking about quarterbacks needing help. And if you've got help, in terms of your receivers and tight ends and a good offensive line, you can be a pretty decent quarterback in the NFL. So let's look at this weekend. Now, if I'm thinking about the matchups, that I'm really, really interested in. Obviously, I have to talk about the Dallas Cowboys and the Giants. We played the season opener against Giants. I think it's a bit of a tradition for the Dallas Cowboys. They're always pretty much almost playing the Giants, except for the last couple of years that we went and played the Bucs. But we traditionally always open against the Giants. And check this out. Dak Prescott has won 10 consecutive games against the Giants. Now, I know what you're going to say. We've said it now, so we might jinx it or we can end up losing against the Giants. But I just don't see that happening. I mean, I look at the Giants, right now in terms of what they have in offense. Danny Dimes, Danny Jones, the quarterback, has come of age. He only threw, I think, 6 interceptions, last season. So that's really decent. But I think what really made him really elevate his game was the fact that he was a dual threat, meaning that he could run, as well as throw. I mean, it's more running than throwing because I think, when it comes to throwing, I'm not quite sure he's quite up there. But Saquon Barkley, really is the one that drives that offense. If you shut him down and then let the quarterback throw, we'll see how well Danny does. I think Darren Waller, coming into the New York Giants. I think it's interesting to see, how he's going to shape up into that team. But I mean, the Giants have got a decent, team. They've got decent defense there. They've got a good, coach. I mean, he did reasonably well. But I want to talk about my Dallas Cowboys just, very quickly. I've had a couple of news around, injuries, to some of the squad players, especially in the offense as well. And I think for me, it's really important that you keep CeeDee Lamb fit, you keep Tony Pollard, fit. Deuce, come on. I mean, this guy, in the preseason, it's got everybody excited. But I think that, going into the season, he's going to be that 1-2 punch, between Pollard and in the running game. Because we had a little bit of that. People used to say thunder and lightning. We had a Zeke Elliott, who's now in the Patriots, pretty much providing that grit. And Tony Pollard was the guy that literally was just taking off, right? And I loved Tony Pollard last season. I was always wondering why he wasn't gonna get the running that he should. So fancy owners, you've got Tony Pollard in your team. I think you're gonna get lots of points because the player is really, really elusive. But I look across the offense. I know the tight ends are gonna have to step up this season, so I think that's gonna be interesting. I hope that Gallup gets back to his best. He was that deep ball for us, I think 1 year removed, from his injury. Hopefully he can start to get away, from the demons. Jalen Tolbert, last season, I think, you know, his rookie season, sometimes he didn't even get into the squad. Never mind getting on the pitch. But what I've been hearing so far is that he's taken a huge leap from year one to year two. So I'm expecting good things, from there. I mean, the defense. Listen, that defense is legit. That defense is, um, I think that it would be one of the best five defenses in the NFL this season without a question. I think Micah Parsons is going to be very close, if not win Defensive Player of the Year. I think he just needs to make sure that he doesn't tail off like he did last season. But listen, we've got Diggs, Trayvon Diggs, sitting on that side, and we've got Gilmore, on the other side as well. So no one is going to be bullying us, throwing the ball, um, into our cornerbacks, right? I think we're going to be okay. So I'm really excited, about that game, at Dallas and the Giants. Now, I think the other game that everyone is really looking forward to is the Aaron Rodgers first game against the New York Jets. So I'm just checking now. So I think it's the Monday night game. Yes, Monday night game. And it's a late game, especially for us in the UK. So we'll see how that goes. Even the Cowboys game is a late game. I always don't like the late game because it means that I am very, very groggy in the morning, at work. But the Bills against the Jets. I mean, the AFC East has been owned by the Patriots for a long time when Tom Brady was there. And now without Tom Brady, I think there is an opportunity for, a lot of teams to really, really stake their claim there. And listen, everyone says that the Jets were really a quarterback away last season. They had a very good, defense, and they had a lot of playmakers in the offense as well. So Aaron Rodgers going there, he's a Hall of Famer. I don't like him. Only from the point of view that he always beats the Cowboys. I think, for me, I remember the first rookie season of Dak Prescott. We were doing so well. We went into, Green Bay, smacked Aaron Rodgers at home. But when we met him in the playoffs, that was the difference. I think, Dak Prescott played, his ultimate best. And we were beaten by a field goal. I think everyone remembers that field goal. Mason Crosby, I think that was the kicker's name. I mean, that shouldn't have gone in. I think the ball went all over the place until he finally, got in. So, listen, I'm still sore about that. And every time we played them, even last season, we played the Green Bay Packers and we lost overtime after owning them in the first half. So, I think, there are things that we would want to rectify against Aaron Rodgers, but he's over there at the Jets. But I was going to talk about the Bills and the Jets. I think that game is going to be really incredible. I don't know what's happening to Josh Allen, but I hope, he gets back to that sort of form that he was. With Stephon Diggs, in the Bills team, I think that, Josh Allen will get a chance, to prove himself. But it's all about Aaron Rodgers. Let's be fair. I think this game is only going to be about Aaron Rodgers, about what he does. Can he go into a new team? Can he settle? Can he make connections? With his receivers. It was always said that he didn't use the preseason game when he was in Green Bay, but I think he did a preseason game with the Jets. So I think it's going to be interesting. We're going to be looking to see how Aaron Rodgers. And listen, I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers in that game. I think that I'm not quite sure yet what the Bills are going to be this season. So I'm going to tip, Jets to win that game. Oh, I forgot to mention Dallas against Giants. I can't go against my Dallas Cowboys, so I'm going to be tipping Dallas to win that game. Another interesting game, we're going to talk about the Eagles Patriots. Listen, I don't like the Eagles, but I think Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Mac Jones. But also, I think that the Eagles has got better players in there. I think their offense is still looking good. So I'm going to tip the Eagles to win that game. Eagles against Patriots. Um, 49ers against Steelers, just talked about, Bosa. They're going to need Bosa in this game because I think, there are, um, um, I think, playing at the Steelers have had seasons to forget, but I think they've got a coach that I believe is still very good. He got to the Super Bowl, Mike Tomlin, so I think there's still something to be said there. And I don't believe he's ever had a losing season as a coach. So that says something. So I think that game is going to be tight. I'm just going to lean, towards the 49ers just because I think their defense is just slightly better. Um, Other games, of note to talk about Vikings. Going to talk about the Vikings because my man Tim is going to be asking me why didn't I talk about the Vikings. The Vikings, are a very interesting team because last season, I think at some point they were like 9-0. And there was this funny thing that people used to say about Arsenal. This is the Premiership team that I support. And people used to say that Arsenal being top of the league was like an elephant on a tree. And no one knew how the elephant got there, but they knew that the elephant was going to come back down. So sorry. But the Vikings, strike me like that sort of team. No one knew how they were unbeaten, but everyone still had at the back of their minds that they were going to, come down. And they absolutely got whopped by the Dallas Cowboys. But they had some really close games, and they edged a couple of close games. I think everyone remembers the game against the Colts. I think they were down by 40 or something, and they came back to win that game. So you've got to say that Kirk Cousins, does a lot of good things. I'm expected to see, Justin Jefferson. I think he's the best wide receiver right now. He's young. He's already, done stats that are absolutely insane already, for how early his career is. So definitely I can see him, going, still in the right direction. Interesting to see what Mattison does, as running back, especially with Dalvin Cooks, not out of the building. I think Dalvin Cooks is in the Jets. Yeah, that's another thing why the Jets might be legit this season. But I think the Vikings, playing against the Bucks. Listen, with Tom Brady out of the picture, who's their quarterback in the Bucks? Is it James Winston? I need to check who their quarterback is, right now. But I can only see Vikings, coming out of that game. So that's a win for the Vikings as well. The beginning of Jordan Love, against the Bears, Justin Fields. Yeah, I'm gonna go Justin Fields in that one. But I think he's played 1 year in the NFL. This would be. I know he's coming and played a little bit, but I think now Jordan Love is the starter. For Green Bay Packers, and I think that has a different kind of pressure. So I'm gonna go with the Bears, to win that game. Let's look at the Jaguars and the Colts and Trevor Lawson and Lawrence. Listen, he's a good player. I mean, I saw the Jags, play here in Wembley last year, and I think they're gonna be decent. So I'm gonna take the Jaguars to win that game. I think that they've got a good coach, former Eagles coach. His name is just skipped me now, but I think they've got a good coach there. And I think Etienne is also their running back. He's quite decent. I saw him live, and dude was up and down, like no man's business. He was motoring, let's just say that. So I think, he's going to do good. So I'm going to tip the Jaguars to beat the Colts in that game. Ravens, Texans, Lamar Jackson, everything was all about him. Was he going to get his money? Was he not going to get his money? He got his money. Listen, this is a guy that was a unanimous MVP. So for me, I've got to go with him, to win that game against the Texans. Um, any other game that I have missed? Broncos, Raiders. Yeah, so Russell Wilson, Broncos, terrible, terrible season last year. Um, I think that this year is going to be a different picture because I think Sean Payton, is going to get him right. I think you've heard all the noises around, how he expects, players to behave and all of those sort of things. So I think he's going to bring, the wheel back, into it because, the players have got skill, right? So I think it's all about just getting the right attitude, the right approach to games and things like that. So this is just from me being an outside looking at the Denver Broncos, and I think that they've got a legit coach there, Super Bowl winning coach. So I think that they will come good. So I am going to go with I'm going to go with the Broncos in that game. So they're at home, so I think they will definitely. So that's this weekend's preview. Hope you enjoyed that. Put your likes, put your comments, and just let me know which other team that you want me to really go into details on. But I really enjoyed that. I love talking